warriors, and welcome once again to the Warrior Enclave with Bebe and Toro, where we shatter the silence, share our stories, and believe women, period. Before we get into today's discussion, today's topic, we just want to give a content warning, a trigger warning. We're going to be discussing sexual violence and sexual abuse. And so things could get graphic. Things could bring up some things for you. So make sure you're taking care of yourself before you get into this episode. And also after the episode, make sure that you do what you need to do to, if you've been kind of spooled up, to spiral back down.
Or triggered in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly. And get back to base and, take care of yourself and do the aftercare, that might be necessary. Mm-hmm. So, as I mentioned, we're talking about sexual violence, sexual abuse, and the many insidious ways that it occurs. I feel like this is something that is just so commonplace. However, it seems like society at large, if it's not like in a dark alley somewhere with some stranger violently snatching you up and grabbing you and violently, abusing you, then it's like, did you really experience sexual violence or did you really experience sexual abuse? But we're here to tell you that this thing is very pedestrian. In fact, more times than not, the stats will show that it is the folks that are closest to you, the ones that you see more often in the home, in the community, and are more likely to enact this kind of violence on you than some faceless stranger out there. Another thing when it comes to this particular kind of violence, I think it ties in altogether with patriarchy and misogyny as a whole, because this is the one system of oppression where the victimized, the oppressed, that is girls, women, femmes, are groomed literally right out of the womb to coexist very closely and very intimately with the oppressor, which is masks and men. And so the kind of violence, the kind of violations that occur are very entitled, very audacious, and very, very intimate, very deep in a sense. And so you'll find that that's why it's so common. That's why it's so everyday.
And that's why a lot of women don't even
notice it, don't even clock, right?
And oppression, because it's something they've had to tangle with literally
from birth.
So, and just to even harp on the statistic that you pulled out, which is the fact that it's those who are nearest and dearest to us really that harm us. And it's just so unfortunate, but too many people have experiences with it being their dad, being their uncles, being their brothers,
their neighbor, their cousin, friend of the family,
teachers, husbands. The list goes on and on and on, and it really is just unfortunate. It really is.
And you'll find that as common as it is, it cuts across all demographics of women and femmes, from babies all the way to seniors. I think
and even like class and like religion, just like everybody
is subject to this.
The strata of women.
Some more so than others. I think the Center of Disease Control in the US, I think the stats from there say that over 50%, over half of women have experienced sexual violence that involves physical contact, and at least 1 in 4 women, so that's 25%, has experienced attempted or completed rape. And this is very jarring and startling because we know that sexual violence is one of the things that is severely, severely underreported. And so if the stats are this high, you can imagine what it is if the full reporting was taken into account. And the thing is that, I said babies to seniors, even in death, even dead bodies are not exempt from this. You find that morgues and mortuaries, they prefer to hire women as staff because it is a thing that men have been found to violate the bodies that are kept in these facilities, and it is just like I'm actually speechless. I have no words to say for that, but then it is a castigation on society as a whole that this happens. It's a reflection of who we are as a species, really, especially when it comes to holding these violators accountable. So not only is it underreported, it is also something that is extremely difficult to prove in court. And even the ones that are reported, very few, it's a fraction, minuscule, of violators that actually get convicted, that actually do the time for the crimes that they've committed.
And most of the victims who even decide to see things through end up being further traumatized by these systems, by society, by the public. The victim blaming alone is disgusting.
It is.
Actually.
And having to rehash the trauma, either to the medical professionals that are first going to examine you, to the police, to the lawyers, right there on the stand, like in the court of public opinion.
Is detractors, actually. Every step of the way, it's people questioning your character, questioning your memory, questioning your judgment,
Questioning your experience and your reality.
And like full on even attacking you. Slut shaming you. Okay, why were you there? What were you wearing? Why did you go there? Do you get what I mean? So even the cases where things now finally even see things through to the end, where we hold the perpetrator like this and find he's actually handcuffed and he goes to jail or prison. But the victims will tell you that, to be honest, what they even faced every step along the way, it added a whole new level to the trauma that they're already processing from the event itself. And this is why, again, some people just even do the calculation of,
is it even worth it?
Is it even worth it?
Right. And we see this all the way from public figures to the ones that are, like I said, the nameless ones that are close to you. For example, like we have people like Bill Cosby. We have people like R. Kelly, who took so long, years, decades before he finally got convicted. Who is it that just, Kevin Spacey recently, just
not guilty.
Yeah, 9 counts, but I think was it over 30 or 40 boys had credibly accused him of being sexually inappropriate with them. So I mean, this again just goes to show you what the patriarchy is and how it affects women and femmes.
To be honest, I don't even want to make it seem as if this channel, every single problem we bring up, we find a way to tie it back to patriarchy and to misogyny and all of that. But it's really not us forcing anything here.
It is what it is. We're just telling the truth.
It's just the dots are there to be connected, really. Nobody's forcing anything. You to do your own investigation, do your own research. You will see this is literally the bane of our entire existence for women and even for men too.
Because for humanity.
We are all victims.
For animals.
We are all victims. We are.
Another big indicator for this ill that we have in our society is that even when there's a semblance of law and order, you'll find that women are already on guard for this thing. If you go out, you're watching your drink. If you're going for a walk and it's dark out and some guy is coming, you cross the street. Like You're already constantly vigilant.
Security conscious all
Yeah.
the time.
You're looking at the exits, like, making sure that you're not cornered. You're already on guard because this is just something, that could happen whenever, wherever, that you could be blamed for it. But the second there's any kind of chaos, some kind of natural disaster, war, even the disorder and chaos that happens at concerts, Woodstock, for instance, Burning Man, frat parties, all these things.
All these music festivals.
Yeah, you'll find that women and femmes immediately become fair game for the sexual depravity and degeneracy of men. Anywhere that there has been war, go talk to the women and children there. All the way from the Middle East to Congo. It's crazy. The second, the soldiers who are supposed to be the most disciplined of men, the most whatever of men across history, you'll find that they'll go in, they'll ransack a place, and rape and sexual violation is just par for the course. So it's really crazy. It's really crazy. Another avenue for this thing that happens in humanity, in society, an avenue for it to occur, but also an avenue for it to be covered up, is religion. Look at all the big religions of the world, the big man-made religions of the world, whether it's from the Abrahamic ones, so Christianity, Islam, Judaism, even the ones out of Asia, Hinduism, Buddhism. You'll find that all you have to do is just lift the veneer of purity, of morality, and what you will find there is sexual deviance. Whether it's pedophilia, things like justification of child marriage, all sorts
porn
addictions, all sorts of crazy sexual abuse and grooming going on in there. Girls and femmes are groomed from a very young age to accommodate and sustain
their own oppression
and their own sexual violation. And there's no recourse. Women cannot, first of all, they feel that they already have to just take it, that's their role. The ones who are brave enough to come out and say something, it is covered up, it is buried, they're asked to forgive.
Then the policing is now then on the women.
And the women.
Okay, how they dress, you have to cover up, you have to this, you don't do this, you don't do that. But then
there's no rehabilitation of the men. There's no anything. Again,
they are still just left to run amok in this world.
Exactly.
And it's the women that the controls and everything gets doubled down on, and even upon all the covering, you will now still get violated again. It's still the victim blaming.
There are women, there are hijabis in their hijab, there are women in their burqas, there are ones in the one where it's literally just the eyes
still
that are showing. And yet, and still go and examine those communities, you will still find that there is rape, that there is molestation, and there is sexual violence going on there. And we have to speak just candidly about these things because it's a disease of humanity.
What is really so upsetting to me is the children that are exposed to these harmful individuals, especially within these religious communities. I think I'd even watched a documentary.
Even the Anabaptists, exactly. Those, whether it's the Mormons or the
the Latter-day Saints.
Yeah, the Latter-day Saints,
everybody,
the Mennonites, all those communities, cults.
To be honest, the documentary I even watched was even on the Catholic Church, and it was all these former altar boys.
Oh God, yeah, Catholicism.
There were so many of them. I was just, and it took that documentary. The Catholic Church was still fighting against it, trying to shut it down, trying to make sure that it didn't air. What was even so heartbreaking was one of them. At the end of the documentary, I think maybe him having to even speak about everything, it became too much that he ended up even taking his life shortly after that documentary, and what was all the more upsetting was these priests that did these things to them, not one of them ever got their due. Not one of them was ever held accountable for anything that they did to these kids.
Right.
Yeah. And these men, by the time they were doing this documentary, most of them were in their 50s, 60s. So we're talking about generationally, just the harm. That is what religion does, the silencing, the sweeping things under the carpet.
It is institutional protection of predators. And I just wanted to go back to the previous points I had made when I talked about the statistics from the CDC. And I said, 50%, over 50% of women, and then 1 in 4 have experienced completed or attempted rape. When you drill down a little further into the demographics, you'll find that Black women and indigenous women, the native women, bear the brunt of this, violations. Are the rates of sexual violence and sexual assault within the Black community and Native American and indigenous communities are abysmal. They are abhorrent.
Let's not even get into the missing
persons
statistics with that one too, because it's all part and parcel
of just the lack of care and the ones, again, who bear the brunt of the ills of society.
I think for me, it's really important that we emphasize just the guilt and the shame that we, women and femmes, what we carry in our bodies.
Internalize. Because
of the bad behavior of these individuals, these men around us. For me, I was, as I was growing up, I just became even all the more repulsed because there were so many things that happened to me when I was much younger that I didn't even realize it in the moment until after, I started, I got into my 20s, 30s, and my memory, something would just pop up that, oh my God, when that uncle did that thing, he violated me, so my heart really does break for the vulnerable people in our society, the children amongst us really, that are then groomed to tolerate all these abuses, and they don't even know what is happening to them. They are too young to even process it. Then is now when the funny thing is that your body logs the trauma either way. Whether you even clocked it or not, your body remembers it, puts it somewhere, and keeps it for you. So that when you now grow up, you will now go and attend to that trauma that was inflicted on you. So, again, for women, the guilt and the shame that we carry for things that don't even belong to us. Someone did something to us, and we are the ones feeling the shame about it. We are the ones that feel like something was taken from us. We are the ones that feel soiled in some way. Because again, that's the programming that we get for some of us that grew up in, very religious or, cultural settings where the burden is completely on the woman to keep herself chaste no matter what, to keep herself unsoiled no matter what. But there's all this programming, but where are the tools really? Where are the protections really for us?
There aren't any. And when you speak about cultural phenomenon here, you will find that, again, I guess we're Nigerian, but I think that this kind of cuts across the Black diaspora, maybe because of our history as a people altogether as a whole. We as women and femmes go above and beyond in protecting these men. So you'll have homes where it's like, it's Thanksgiving dinner now, and we just know that uncle is the weird uncle who's around, and your mom tells you, oh, don't go around with uncle this. Or a man is coming to the house, suddenly say, oh, everybody go and remove your shorts, go and dress, go and dress properly. You're not even at ease, or you don't even feel safe within your own home. You have young girls who may be a little precocious, just in physical development, and suddenly she's fast, she's this, but she's just a child. A 10-year-old with breasts is still just a 10-year-old, but you'll have men looking at that girl, they won't look at her like the child she is, and the burden now becomes on her to, you know, to immediately start shrinking herself and dimming herself, to protect herself from these men around them, and instead of the women in the community full-chestedly calling these men out that no, you're not welcome in this home if this is the way you conduct yourself, making a safe space for their daughters and children to come and tell them when something is off, so that they won't be blamed. You know, these are just things that have just become cultural, and they're wrong. They're wrong.
They're wrong, and you know what? For me, I'm even upset again that it's even still the women that we now still have to now even put the burden on of calling these men out, because
Exactly.
to be honest, what are the men doing? They want to shout about how they are protectors, because that's what they want to use to not lift a finger to do anything in that house. But when it now comes to actually protecting the women under their roof in their homes, you will find that over and over and over again, these men throw women under the bus. They are more interested in maintaining the relationship with this their nasty brother that everybody knows is the molester in the family. They still want to be inviting him over for Thanksgiving. They still want to insist that I want you hug your uncle, when we all know that this guy is gross and nasty. And then, you know, sometimes children, they read off, they feel energy. So maybe the child wants to recoil, then is to now shame the child that, you don't have respect. Can't you hug? Can't you greet? Do you get what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, for me, I'm even uncomfortable even putting the burden on women. It's on you men. You know yourselves, because every single day you know how to shout, not all men, not all men. But yet and still, it is still men.
Exactly. It's still always somehow a man.
So you guys do the job of policing yourselves then. Because here's the thing, men, because they are the ones in the locker rooms, they are the ones too that they know the people that are the predators amongst in their midst. They know the people that are the nasty ones in their midst. But they too, they don't have the chest to call these people out. Then they will not try and
I think it's because they identify with each other. The man in the house that has his nasty brother coming in and is not calling him out, he's also going to that brother's house, and who knows what he's doing to that own brother's kids. So they're bonded in this,
their nastiness.
in this, yeah. And again, here at the Warrior Enclave in Shattering Silence, we calling shit out. We calling shit out.
Again, I mean, I actually do hate that we have to say this, that, look, this channel is not a man-bashing channel, but at the end of the day, we're not going to coddle anybody here. If you're doing mess, we're going to call you out on your mess. And unfortunately, you men are messy.
So as we said, there's just so much shaming and silencing that occurs with this thing about sexual violence and sexual abuse when women and femmes are victimized by it. And, you know, this happens whether you're out of a relationship, and dare I say even more so when you are in a relationship, because it's then you're taken even less seriously to come out and say that your partner is the one who violated you, or is the one who is violating you. You know, you will find everybody in society looking at you like, what do you mean? There are places in the world, lots of countries in the world, where spousal rape is not recognized as such. India is one where we know, my goodness, we know the violence that happens to women in India. And, you know, these men have fought tooth and nail, carried that patriarchy to the chest that no, this is not something that should be recognized illegally.
On one hand, my heart certainly breaks for the women who even know that they are being violated in these relationships, and one way or the other are even trying to find a way to call it out. There's another group that, because of their conditioning, they don't even know that they are being violated in this space, because they are in a relationship and they have received the programming that, number one, you can't say no, you don't say no. Once your husband is ready, you have to just make yourself available. You drop everything and you go and spread your legs wide and give him what he wants. You know, women have been taught to not even be active participants in their own pleasure. In fact, an enthusiastic yes from a woman is not really necessary, which goes against everything we know about consent. If you are being sexual with anybody, the only form of consent that is acceptable is an enthusiastic yes. Anything less than that, you are being violated. Period. I don't care if that person is your husband, your boyfriend, your fiance, your situationship. Anything less than an active, enthusiastic yes, participation in your own pleasure is rape. It is just that serious. You are being sexually assaulted there. And do you know the funny thing? Because as someone who has now, started to take my power back, I am sexually active. I am putting myself out there, I'm meeting people. I'm having fun. I can't deny that fact. But it has been a minefield trying to navigate this scene because I find that a lot of men are so predatory in nature that, to be honest, even your enthusiastic yourself, I find that some of them, they don't want you to be enthusiastic actually.
Absolutely not.
They actually don't even, some of them, what they want is to actually extract the sex out of you.
It is that lack of consent,
That's the one they
That's
want.
what gets them off. Because you'll have women who are there, willing, ready, able, and it's like,
No.
they will still find some way to make it a violation.
To make it like a gross thing. Whether it's okay, fine, we both agree we're coming to this space, we're going to do this. They will not try and sneak in something that was never discussed, agreed, or consented to, even in the middle of something that both parties have already consented to. Do you get what I mean? Or even sometimes the moment they can tell that, oh, this girl she's into it, she wants to, yeah, let's go, everybody's revved up. Then they now start playing the sadistic games, the mind games. It's like, no, they want to make you discombobulated to the point where then they can then extract it.
Or it just becomes straight out violence. So I'll just give an anecdote from one of my own experiences. So I met up with a guy, just the one time, and sex was something that was a possibility that could have occurred. And, by the time the sex happened, I processed it as rough sex. I just processed it as rough sex. And this is the thing about your body logging things and protecting you sometimes, and then letting the truth of a certain situation surface when you're better equipped to face that truth. So it wasn't until 7 months later that I realized that, oh my God, I was raped, violently raped. And like I said, this is someone that I met up with just the one time, someone I wasn't in a relationship with. But this is also something that has happened while I was in a relationship with someone who you love, someone who you've been relating with for months, who you're cohabitating with, being very intimate with, sharing so much together. And again, all it takes is just a switch of energy. An act that starts out consensual, or an act that started out like consensual, within the same session became violent. And one thing about me, energy is my first language. I perceive things on the essence of things, and energy does not lie. And you will find that there are men, partners, spouses, husbands who are raping their wives. By the time you examine it energetically. And it's just crazy because, again, it's almost like men feel like once they've claimed you, then they have carte blanche to do with your body what they wish, whether or not you are a willing or active participant in it or not.
It really is just so unfortunate, the lot in life of women. And for me, I really do enjoy interacting with women who have a very firm grip of what this world is about and how dangerous it is really.
How dangerous men are to us.
Yeah. But one thing I like about your story is how you said your body clocked it. And again, so when we say on this channel, just listen to how you feel. It doesn't lie. You may not be able to process it in the moment. Maybe you don't have the language. Maybe you're just even not ready to even accept the truth of what happened. But listen to the fact that something is there, something has been logged, and make sure you find the time to process that thing out. So, I mean, before we continue, I certainly want to say thank you to my sister for sharing. Like, she doesn't do too much sharing on here. I'm usually the one just making noise and shouting on this channel. But like, so thank you for sharing your story. I hope that wasn't too difficult for you to do.
No, not at all. But like, it's important, especially with this topic, again, to harp on it that it is that lack of consent that seems to get these men off. And sometimes when there's no other way for them to manipulate it out of you, they will just simply handle you violently and roughly.
And then in those kinds of instances, number one, it took you 7 months to even process that event. So
not to process it, to have clarity about it.
It took you,
and then the therapizing began.
And then, but these are the kinds of things that we say go into the cases that are not reported. Do you understand what I mean? So, of course, like we've said, there's just so much that goes unsaid. There are just so many scars that women carry in their bodies, and they just have to move on with life.